Ever since I was a kid, I was always fascinated by the wilderness. In this MMO that I played with thousands of other players, there is a lawless region where you could kill other players and get their loot. And as a kid, all you could dream of was getting that one rare kill. This led to countless afternoons where I would run home from school, jump on the computer, and head to the Varrock Wilderness, in hopes of getting myself a nice rune armor set. The wilderness has even seen a lot of updates since then. The Revenant Caves were added, the Mage Arena was updated, and the wilderness even has its own bosses. With all these new ways to obtain items and supplies, the wilderness didn't seem so two-dimensional anymore. And this always had me curious. Would it be possible to make an account that only survived inside the wilderness? Hunting every monster, finding every skilling method, and hopefully by the end of it, PKing ourselves some really sick loot. And that's where the idea for my new account came in. This is my new wilderness-only account, A Wild Ride. This account will live solely in the wilderness. It's definitely not an Iron Man, but I won't be allowed to trade players, which means I can't use the Grand Exchange. However, I can loot kills and items from PvP, which can make things pretty interesting. The goal is to be as self-sufficient as possible while we rely on the wilderness for pretty much everything. This means that there are tons of unique and powerful items for me to unlock while still giving me that challenging limited experience. Whether I'm killing bosses for their uniques or hunting players for their valuables, there's so much for me to do and a lot of really interesting goals for me to set. I'll be limiting myself to the wilderness as much as I can, but there are a few prerequisites I decided on before I got started. For starters, I paid 5 million gold for my main to set our spawn to Edgeville. This just made sense as we would have to walk from Lumbridge every single time we died, and this lets me jump right back into the wilderness, because we all know that I'm going to die a lot. The next thing that I did was buy a player-owned house. After looking around a bit, I noticed that construction would be a really interesting skill to level up throughout the wilderness, yet to start the skill, I actually have to purchase the house beforehand. I won't be sitting in my house the whole time, but construction really seemed like an interesting thing to include. And lastly, as expected, I completed the Druidic Ritual quest. Herblore is another skill that has an interesting gate on it, but I was able to complete the quest without any additional experience gain. This just lets us create potions that are pretty key to the account without us having to rely on looting them. Besides all this, there are 3 NPCs that'll have to access that pertain to wilderness content but actually sit outside of the wilderness. This is the Bounty Hunter NPC, the Wilderness Slayer NPC, and Purdue the Item Retrieval and Repair NPC. All 3 of these NPCs are vital to the wilderness, and without them the account wouldn't really be possible, but as of now, they're located outside the wilderness and there's nothing we can do. Other than navigating ourselves to the Edgeville dungeon, that's pretty much it. I didn't want to include too many rules because I think it would just be too hard to follow them. It's a pretty unique account, and I'm curious to see how far we can get on it. Thank you guys for watching, and I look forward to creating episode 1.